My hands trembled as I signed away my dream for $1. My brother Michael stood behind our parents, barely containing his smirk as I scrawled my signature on each page of the transfer documents. 5 years of work, gone in 5 minutes of legal finality. See, Daniel? That wasn't so hard, my father said, gathering the papers with practiced efficiency. After all, as one of Boston's top corporate lawyers, he'd overseen countless company acquisitions, though usually they involved more than a single dollar. My mother touched my shoulder, her expensive rings cold against my skin. It's for the best, honey. Michael has the business experience to make something of this. You can go back to school, get your MBA like we always planned. I stared at the ThinkTech logo on the last page, my logo, the one I designed in my MIT dorm room, while first imagining a company that would revolutionize artificial intelligence. Now it belonged to my older brother, who'd never written a line of code in his life. The company car keys, Michael prompted, holding out his hand, and the office access card. I pulled them from my pocket, along with my keycard to the research lab, where I'd spent countless nights perfecting our AI algorithms. What Michael and my parents didn't know was that the most valuable part of ThinkTech wasn't in any of those places. The real treasure was safely encrypted on servers they didn't even know existed. This whole nightmare had started 3 months ago, when our family's golden child had finally noticed what his embarrassment of a younger brother was building. Michael, with his Harvard MBA and junior partnership at Goldman Sachs, had always been the family success story. I was the dreamer who dropped out of MIT's computer science program to pursue a ridiculous tech fantasy. But then Microsoft had approached ThinkTech about our natural language processing engine. Google's AI division had expressed interest in our machine learning patents. Suddenly, my fantasy looked like it might be worth something. That's when Michael had started showing up at family dinners again, asking casual questions about ThinkTech's technology. Just brotherly interest, he claimed. I should have known better. 2 weeks ago, he presented my parents with a detailed analysis of ThinkTech's potential and my supposed inability to realize it. Daniel's a brilliant programmer, he told them, but he doesn't understand business. At this rate, he'll run the company into the ground before its technology reaches its true market potential. My parents, who'd been increasingly vocal about their disappointment in my wasteful career choices, had seized on his proposal. They would cut off my trust fund, withdraw the family's seed investment in ThinkTech, and call in all the business connections they'd reluctantly provided, unless I sold the company to Michael. He'll know how to structure the proper deals, my father had insisted. Turn it into a real company instead of a programmer's hobby shop. What they didn't understand was that ThinkTech had already evolved far beyond their comprehension. Our core AI technology, the part I'd kept carefully hidden from all company documentation, wasn't just valuable. It was revolutionary. I discovered the breakthrough accidentally during a late-night coding session 6 months ago. A small error in my algorithms had produced something unexpected, an AI system that could not only process natural language but actually understand context and subtext in ways no existing technology could match. When I realized what I created, I made a decision that now proved prophetic. I separated the breakthrough into 3 distinct patent applications filed under my own name rather than ThinkTech's. As far as the company records showed, we were still working on basic machine learning tools. The real innovation, the one that would change everything, was mine alone. I'll need you to brief me on all current projects, Michael said as we walked to the ThinkTech offices for the final handover. Client lists, research status, everything. I nodded, keeping my face carefully neutral. Of course. Though most of it is in the company documentation I already provided. He frowned slightly. My brother had always been able to tell when I was holding something back, ever since we were kids. But now he had no power to force the truth from me. He owned ThinkTech, yes, but only the shell I'd left for him to find. The next 2 weeks were a parade of humiliation as Michael took control of my company. He brought in his own management team, replaced my beloved whiteboard walls with modern art, and relegated me to an advisory role that meant nothing. I watched him parade potential investors through the office, spouting buzzwords he didn't understand about technology he couldn't comprehend. Each time, I thought about the encrypted files on my private servers, about the 3 patent applications slowly working their way through the approval process, My parents were delighted with the transition. Michael's already lined up meetings with major tech companies. My mother gushed during our Sunday dinner. He says Google might be interested in an acquisition. I pushed my food around my plate. Google, really? What do they think of the core technology? Michael's fork paused halfway to his mouth. The engineers were very impressed with the natural language processing capabilities. I bet they were, since that's all he had to show them. The real breakthrough, the contextual understanding engine that would make their best AI look like a pocket calculator, was safely hidden away. I'm thinking of going traveling for a while, I announced. Clear my head. Running away? Michael taunted. Can't handle watching someone else succeed with your little project. Our mother jumped in quickly. That's a wonderful idea, Daniel. Take some time, figure out your next steps, maybe look into some MBA programs. I nodded agreeably. Let them think I was retreating, licking my wounds. In reality, I had plans. Careful, deliberate plans that were already in motion. That night, in my apartment, I reviewed the latest communication from the patent office. All 3 applications were proceeding smoothly. Initial feedback was positive. Within months, I would own the official patents to technology that would revolutionize artificial intelligence. And Michael, with all his Harvard business acumen, had no idea what he'd failed to acquire with his dollar purchase. I opened my laptop and booked a flight to Singapore. Not to run away, but to meet with investors I've been quietly cultivating, ones who understood the true potential of my hidden innovation. Ones who would help me build something new, something that would make ThinkTech look like a practice run. My phone buzzed. Another text from Michael. Need you to explain some of the technical documentation tomorrow. The Google team has questions. I smiled, remembering all the times he'd lorded his business success over me, all the times he'd dismissed my work as a waste of potential. Sorry, I typed back. Flight's early tomorrow. Have to finish packing. Let him figure it out for himself. Let him slowly discover that the company he'd strong-armed away from me was just a facade, a shell containing only the most basic version of what I created. The real power, the true innovation, was traveling with me to Singapore, encrypted on a drive that never left my possession. And in a few months, when the patents were approved, when the true scope of my breakthrough became public, my family would learn a harsh lesson about underestimating the quiet sun. Sometimes, losing everything is just the beginning of winning it all back, with interest. Singapore's heat hit me like a wall as I stepped out of my hotel 6 months later. The city had become my second home, my sanctuary away from Boston's suffocating family dynamics. My phone buzzed. Another message from Michael. Daniel, the Google team is getting frustrated. These algorithms aren't performing as expected. Call me. I smiled, remembering the careful layers of code I'd built into ThinkTech's systems. The basic AI worked perfectly, exactly as advertised. But without the breakthrough innovation I hidden away, it would never achieve the potential Michael had bragged about to investors. My new company, Nova Intelligence, was taking shape in a sleek office overlooking Marina Bay. My Singapore-based team consisted of brilliant programmers who understood the revolutionary nature of what we were building. No family connections, no inherited positions, just pure talent and shared vision. Then came the email I'd been waiting for. The U.S. Patent Office had approved all 3 of my personal patent applications. The confirmation arrived during a video call with Michael, who was becoming increasingly desperate as major tech companies began pulling back from ThinkTech. Something's missing, he admitted, running his hands through his now disheveled hair. The core technology isn't doing what the early tests showed it could do. Did you change something before you left? I kept my expression neutral. Everything's exactly as it was documented in the company files, Michael. Maybe you should have your Harvard MBA team look deeper into the technical specifications. After ending the call, I opened the patent confirmations. There it was in official language. I personally owned the rights to the contextual understanding engine that made my AI truly revolutionary. ThinkTech, now Michael's company, owned nothing but basic machine learning algorithms available from a dozen other sources. The next morning, my phone exploded with notifications. The patent approvals had been published, and the tech world was on fire. Revolutionary AI breakthrough patents approved. TechCrunch. Nova Intelligence CEO Daniel Chen holds key to next-gen AI. Wall Street Journal. ThinkTech sale under scrutiny as former founder's patents surface. Bloomberg. I was in a meeting with Japanese investors when my father called. then my mother, then Michael, repeatedly. I let them all go to voicemail. Finally, I answered a call from Jessica Wong, the technology reporter who'd broken the story. Mr. Chen, your brother claims these innovations were developed at ThinkTech and should have been included in the company's sale. Care to comment? The patents were filed in my personal name before any discussion of selling ThinkTech. I replied calmly. The documentation is clear and complete. The technology covered by these patents was never ThinkTech company property. And the fact that your brother paid only $1 for ThinkTech? I allowed myself a small smile. The price reflected the actual value of the technology included in the sale. The story exploded across the business world. Michael appeared on CNBC trying to claim the patents belonged to ThinkTech. But his arguments fell apart under scrutiny. Every document, every filing, every line of code had been carefully prepared to withstand exactly this challenge. My parents were next, calling a family meeting at their Beacon Hill mansion. I attended via video call from my Singapore office, now deliberately decorated with Nova Intelligence's sleek logo visible in the background. This is about family loyalty, my father began, his lawyer's composure cracking. You deliberately deceived your brother. No, I interrupted quietly. This is about business. Isn't that what you always taught us? Michael wanted my company, so he leveraged family connections to take it. Fine, he got exactly what he paid for, $1 worth of technology. My mother tried next. Darling, we can work this out. The family name is doing just fine, I finished. Nova Intelligence is already valued at $2.3 billion after our last funding round. The Chen family has nothing to worry about. Michael finally exploded. You little snake. You knew what you were hiding when you signed those transfer papers. I'll sue you for fraud. I held up a document. My legal team prepared a complete analysis. The sale documents, which your Harvard lawyers drafted, specifically covered only technology owned by ThinkTech at the time of sale. These patents were personal intellectual property filed before any discussion of selling the company. Sue if you want, but it will only generate more embarrassing headlines. The silence that followed was deafening. My father, the brilliant corporate lawyer, knew I was right. Michael, for all his MBA polish, had been outmaneuvered by the brother he'd underestimated. What do you want? My father finally asked. Nothing, I replied. Nova Intelligence is already partnering with Microsoft, Google, and 3 major AI research institutes. We're opening offices in Tokyo and London next month. I don't mean anything from ThinkTech or the family. Those were my connections, Michael sputtered. My business relationships. No, I cut in. Those were the connections you inherited. I built these relationships myself, with companies that understand the true value of innovation. Over the next year, the contrast between Nova Intelligence and ThinkTech became impossible to ignore. Without its hidden core technology, ThinkTech struggled to compete. Michael's Harvard connections couldn't change the fact that he owned a hollow shell of what he thought he'd acquired. Nova Intelligence, meanwhile, soared. Our contextual understanding engine revolutionized everything from medical diagnosis to financial analysis. The patents that Michael had failed to capture became the foundation of a new generation of AI technology. My parents tried different approaches to regain control. First came guilt, family dinners filled with references to tradition and loyalty. Then negotiation, offers to merge ThinkTech and Nova Intelligence under family oversight. Finally, acceptance, grudging recognition that their younger son had outmaneuvered them all. The final act came during a tech conference in San Francisco. I was delivering the keynote address when I spotted my family in the audience. Michael looked tired. The polish of his Goldman Sachs days faded. My parents sat stiffly, watching as I demonstrated Nova Intelligence's latest innovation. After the presentation, Michael approached me alone. You could have just told me what you were really building, he said quietly. I looked at my brother, remembering all the times he'd dismissed my work, all the family dinners where he boasted while belittling my choices. Would you have listened? Or would you have just tried to take it sooner? He had no answer. A week later, ThinkTech announced it was being sold to a minor tech company for a fraction of what Michael had once boasted it was worth. The headlines were brutal. ThinkTech sale marks end of family tech dynasty that never was. My mother called, tears in her voice. Was it worth it? Breaking up the family like this? I looked out my office window at Singapore's glittering skyline. The family broke things first, Mom. I just refused to be broken with it. Nova Intelligence continued to grow. We opened research centers worldwide, advanced AI technology in ways my former family company never could have, and built something far beyond what Michael had tried to steal for $1. Last month, I received an invitation to speak at MIT's graduation ceremony. The topic, Innovation, Family, and the True Cost of Success. I accepted, but not to gloat or seek revenge. I accepted to share the real lesson I'd learned. Sometimes, losing everything is the first step to gaining something greater. Sometimes, the quietest member of the family is the one you should have watched most carefully. And sometimes, $1's worth of humiliation buys you a future worth billions. The patents that Michael failed to capture now hang framed in my office. A reminder that true innovation can't be stolen, only earned. Next to them sits a single dollar bill, preserved in a case. Underneath, a small plaque reads, Price of freedom, $1. Value of believing in yourself, priceless. Michael still runs a small consulting firm in Boston. My parents still attend their social functions and talk about family loyalty. But in boardrooms and tech conferences around the world, people tell a different story. About the quiet programmer who turned a forced sale into $1 billion victory. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's success they can't take credit for.